So we learned a lot about the different ways of setting up experiments here in the Navigator. Tile scans, multi-position, working with well plates, and so on and so forth. So we saw these single shapes that we could put everywhere or mark. We saw regions, but sometimes you might have. Let's go. Let's do this. Yeah, or just. So I'm putting my little tissue sample in here. I'm gonna go to the 5x. And I'm gonna go wide. See here. So if I can see something, click on this to alter range. Yeah, then we have something. We'll just find that there. And I will start by doing a spiral scan here. With the 5x, we're getting a big overview, so really it can be faster to generate. So at this point here, I'm going outside. I'm taking a lot of fields that I don't really need. So I can stop this here. I would have continued, but now just to show what I can do. So if it's starting to do a lot of stuff that where you don't want, you can always stop it. You can go move somewhere else, and you can start a new spiral scan to actually see. Or you can also fill in the rest by double clicking. Maybe that one also will want. And there's a little bit to see. There. So now I think we have the whole tissue, so that we can see, we can move around and so on. Okay? Say that I want to image this whole tissue. We have one region of interest tool that we haven't used yet. It's a little bit of a hit and miss. It can work with tissue especially, and that's this magic wand. So the magic wand, you can go in and we can just click somewhere. We have to find somewhere that is good. I've tried there. It will automatically select my tissue here. So that's a quick thing. This is depending on good contrast in your image and so on. It's not super smart. It's like a Photoshop magic wand type of thing. So as long as there is good contrast between the background and your sample, this will do a good job. Okay? So I picked out the whole tissue, but when we go to my, I want to image this, but maybe with the 20x, but I don't need this whole thing. So now I can right click in here and I can set up regions in shape. If I click on that one, I'm getting the same that we had in our multi-well plate and so on. So now I can do instead, I can say positions. Within this I want to take, let's say that I want to take 20, random positioning this tissue. And for me now, I don't mind at all. It can go all the way out if it wants. And then let's go with setting focus point. Could be a good thing here. Maybe I want to take, say, 6 and go OK. So now it placed out my region, my frames over the tissue. It actually did not put the focus map. You can say that this tool is actually new from this. So that part doesn't seem to be working well. But this is the point that I wanted to show. To randomly put within a region of interest, you can also take and put multi-position. So that's in the setup region. And in there, let's see if this setup focus point will be better than. So that was also right below its setup focus points. So you have the current region or all regions. I'm gonna go with this region, 6 of them, and I will place them a little bit randomly, and then I can continue to create my focus map, go to the first position, go live. I can put this one more or less focus. I have a position to start with, and then set this and find the remaining with the autofocus, for example. And now we'll go. Alright, how does it seem? Straightforward?
Good. Yes.
Very good. We're getting to the point where I'm gonna hand it over to you to try to do a little bit of imaging. But there's a few things that I want to discuss first. We're gonna look at the, we haven't looked at the mosaic merge yet, so we'll have a look at that. We can do that with this sample actually. Remove this. Just we'll set up a little region of interest. I will remove some of these. So again, this one is not really really labeled with anything, so I won't create a really nice one, but we'll do this anyway. Time. Let's remove time so that we don't have anything there. And I will just capture this.
And now it applies the focus map which we captured, right? Although it's outside of our region. Okay.
Exactly. So it will interpolate between all of these focus points so that it should be applied also in here.
So at this time we haven't used the mark, but we use the find all by autofocus, right? After.
Yeah. So exactly. So it's in this case it found all these points using the autofocus. I could have done that manually, just gone to each of them and just checked the focus and set this set.
Yes.
But I allowed it to do it itself. So now I capture this, but in here we can already see here. I can move that over there. You can see that it's not perfect here. It's not stitched or anything, because in this interface, the images that we see here will never be stitched. They will never be perfectly aligned. So if we want to see the result, we have to go into mosaic merge. So the mosaic merge is the viewer of Navigator. So here we have all the projects. So we have all our images here. You can click on whatever we did this morning also. It's still here and we can see them perfectly fine. But let's go to what we just did. So this is what we just did. So this is the capture. You can see this is the raw data, so it's not stitched. So it's not perfect there. And if we go to the merge, so it creates automatically because I asked it to stitch while acquiring. If we go to that one, it has merged them together. So now this one is in better shape. Here I can also then re-merge it. So I take the tile scan here. I can then change to a different blend if I want to. Can activate 3D, which doesn't matter here because it's not a 3D, so it will not really make any difference. And I can merge that, and then it will always create a new merged.
So it doesn't overwrite?
It never overwrites anything. It will always create a copy. Whenever you do a process to an image, if you do a cropping or something in the process tab that we looked at before briefly, it will always create a copy. It will never overwrite what you've done. Yeah, so you can always merge it afterwards. It's also sometimes some people if you run very large tile scans, sometimes because this merge while acquiring, what it basically does is acquiring everything and then it just merges as part of the full experiment, but it does it afterwards. Sometimes if you're doing a large tile scan and you want to start another tile scan right after, then you might not want to merge it while, because maybe you just want to acquire everything and then merge it afterwards. So you can do that. One nice thing here, so this is then the mosaic merge tab. Again, in here it's a viewer, so you can merge it again. You can also turn off, turn on the different channels. You can also adjust the scaling of it and so on. So you can do a lot of things in the viewer here. Let's go back to the acquisition and let me do. So we have these two. I'm going to remove this and instead let's do two small ones here. Do one here. Here. And we can do another one here. So sometimes if you have, so now I have two of them. I will start this one also. sometimes you have a tissue or a sample where there might not be a lot of interest between these two regions, but there is still some type of interest, like how they are related to each other. That would be maybe more often in a tissue or something like that. So if we go here and we have a look at this, this is region 7, region 8, and here we have the region 7 merged, region 8 merged. But if I take these two and I mark them both, I will see the relative distance and where they were in relation to each other. And I can now merge these two. So if I merge it like this, I'm getting this image.
Yeah.
So it just fills up with black, it merges these two individually, and then it puts black in between. So I have an image now where I still have information about where they were in relation to each other, how far apart they were, and so on. So that could be of interest. Okay, so that's the Mosaic Merge tab. It's not very complicated, but just to remember that after in here you will only see the images next to each other. You would have to go into Mosaic Merge to see the results. Any questions? All good?
Yes. So far, yeah.
Good. So, should we have a look at some of your sample?
Mm-hmm.
Which sample do you want to start with?
You can start.
Shall I start? I
Yes,
have like
you can.
cells.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Just like that.
Is that in a 96 volt plate?
Yes.
Okay. So, with the 96 volt plate, we then need to use this insert.
Mm-hmm.
So I would change that. Simply take this one and then just lift it up, pop it out, and then with this one, I will just, as I did before, start from one side and then slide it back till it pops into position. So what fluorophores do you have in there?
Only one. It's it excites at 360.
Yeah.
And emits at 520. So it's
Okay. So this is the one that, in this case here, we have, as we talked about before, we will use this cube, which is the multi-bandpass cube. We
Yeah.
will excite it as far blue as we can, which be at 385 with this filter. So it's basically using the DAPI.
Yeah.
And because it's a multi-bandpass cube, even though we excite there, we'll also see the emission between 506, 532, 578, 610, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So this one should work. It worked in the during the demo there. So we'll test that.
Okay, cool.
So I will start
Yeah.
a little bit, and then we'll hand it over. So where do you have your sample?
It's basically here in this area.
Okay.
So A1, 2, B3.
So this now, this is also a time when if you would add this in here, let's take just one random here. Take someone that I recognize the name, or at least, okay, let's take this. So if you have your, it's also very good because then you can quickly move by just clicking in it, and you know that you're in the right position. So with the 96 well plate, the alignment, yeah, if you want it to be absolutely exact, it's good, but with this one it will more or less be in the correct position. So depending on how sensitive it is, that it's absolutely accurate then. So I will go here and hope that I'm more or less in that position. So these are live cells now.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see what we are. Yeah, it's in that position. Okay.
Yep.
So we're in the right position now. I will go to the 20x will not work, and actually I'm not getting past it even, so I can see. So then we have another thing to consider here when going. So when going to the 40x, so on this one you have that thin
Yeah,
bottom.
exactly.
Okay. I think that will not work,
Okay.
because now when I try to move past the 20x, I'm going into the
plate.
The plate.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But so now when I change objective, and this would typically do if it's a motorized, it would do it itself. But I will lower it first. I will say, so these buttons here, we didn't talk so much about the buttons here. But these buttons here, this is a focus position, and this is a lowering position. So when they are green, they have a stored value.
Mm-hmm.
Might not be a value that is all relevant to your sample, and in this case it's not, because we have changed the sample carry altogether. So whenever you come here, if you sit down with your sample, don't use this, because you don't know what is stored there. So if I want to remove this, I click the set button, which is the middle one, and I click here. Now we have no stored value. Now I store this value.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if I can go down. I moved it down, so this is set for going to basically the bottom, so that is okay. And then I will go over to, I go 20x, and I go to the 40x. And now I click and hold, and it goes to the focus position. So the focus position should be fairly okay, but it's not going to be perfect, especially now because we have the correction ring that we will need to fix. But let's see. I will move into this area where there's a lot of blue. And we'll see. Go light. Very nice. Increase this. It's already. You see, this is very, very bright.
Yep.
These ones.
This is a transvection or?
No, it's a probe which just
Okay.
releases a flow flow after activation.
So it's not a transvection.
So this is actually then a fluorophore that it precipitates,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
So when we're looking at a precipitate, typically those kind of things, which is a solid, is very bright very often. So this is a very bright probe. So here we go. Now I will check the color, and I will change the color and see if I can see that way. Worse. I'm starting to move now towards a thicker, and I'm getting better contrast, right?
Yeah.
And now I move past it. Go back. So somewhere around here. Somewhere there. So this is now the 40x. So with this sample, the 40x is the only objective, apart from the 5x, of course, that we can actually image this. So once I have this set up, now what what is it that you would do with this sample?
So I would probably would like to take some pictures over the well.
Yeah.
And then have, so for example here I have different concentration in each row.
Okay.
And then basically compare probably the intensity between the different wells, kind of.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be a typical thing I would go for.
Got it. So, since we haven't, let's see if I can see these ones at all. I'm guessing no, but I will have a quick look. Yeah, nice. Here with Brightfield we can see them quite nice also. And with the Brightfield we can also see all the ones that doesn't have anything in. So I don't know if Brightfield is something that you typically do and use, but you could easily do both Brightfield and the fluorescence. You would get a quite nice overlay there. So what I will do now, because I don't know this carrier, I lower and I go to the 5x. Go back up, and now just using Brightfield, I will just see if I can basically, I'll do like this. And we said that it was roughly these ones, right?
Yeah.
As you can see, this is a lot of tiles. So I just want to get a sense, so I will decrease this. And now we can go to negative. I will do that. Now I have a few that I will take. And if I press now preview instead, with the preview, it will not capture both, it will just do whatever channel I have. So I will press preview and just hopefully fairly quickly go through this and get us a sense of the
where the wells are.
So this is also an option that you can use for getting an idea of where you want to image, basically. And this could even go even faster if you would have a even lower magnification objective. So I will stop this quite soon. I thought I would do these rows also. And of course, once we have the manufacturer of this one, we can add display to it. So this could allow me to more or less draw some circle. Let's say something like there, basically. I think I can. And if you, so you would do some random stuff in there, yeah.
No, I don't have to capture all of it.
Yeah. So now I duplicated to all chambers. Of course, that was way too many. Let me redo that instead. Yes, I will do this. I will use this faulty one. I will do. It was these ones, right?
Yeah. Not the 4, only 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So let me actually save some time, and we do these 4. These 3 in the top there. And I will do a few different regions, a few different. How many would you do in each well?
Maybe 9 or something.
Yeah.
With the 40x.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 9.
Yeah. You can do a 9. Random.
Yeah. Well, that in the center.
A little bit more towards the center. We drag it over there, and we go OK. So now we can zoom in here. And of course, I made a mistake because I'm on the 5x still. Now I have to redo it because again I set it 9 with the 5x, so let's do this. There we go. Alright, and this now, they will be slightly on the edge here, so I think what I can do, and this is what I wanted to try to do, I think I can all, and I will try to drag them. Not possible to do like that.
Now does it use your areas?
Hmm?
So does it use your annotations? What you made based on the picture, or no?
No, that's exactly what it didn't do. It's using this thing. So what I was hoping to do was to basically select all of them and move all of them at the same time. But I thought I would be able to do it, but I cannot. Okay, never mind then. I will just move these down. So we get a test drive anyway. And I'll take this away so that we can see it. Okay, so with this, and then I would probably do focus map. How many you would need, it would be very different. So what I will do is like that. I will open the focus map, go to the first position, go live, and I will go to, I have to also activate this. Just deactivate. There we go, and I will set the focus. There. Good. And then I would just find by autofocus the others in the scene.
And here we do not have a Z stack, right?
No, we're not doing a set stack at the moment. I don't know if that's something you typically do.
No,
would assume.
I don't think I would. I need that.
Alright, so it's all done, and now comes also the selection. I mean, if you wanted to do a bright field or not, I can take it away for now. So we're just gonna do this at this thing. So we can just start this. We can go over to Mosaic Merge, and we can see what is happening here. We have the A row. You see how they are increasing, and I think at the end we can, okay, we are actually oversaturating.
Yeah.
So that's also something. So when you know which you're expecting to be highest, I would start there and set the exposure time accordingly, especially with these that are so bright. So now we have A1 and we have the 9 different ones here. So I think that perhaps that's no one was in that one. So here it seems like they might be slightly less or so. And here we are also quite bright. You can see that. Okay, you're still within. They are not overexposed in this one. But it seems like the first one is brighter than the others. I don't know if that's what you expected, but because here they are overexposed actually. So I would probably go into there and set it up. But yeah, so that's more or less, guys, how you can do. And of course, when you do it randomly, you can end up with frames with nothing in it.
Yeah.
So that could also be one way of doing this, is to basically use the 5x to do a quick overview or so, to manually pick places that you want to image.
Yeah.
But that's also, I mean, as soon as you manually, then you might bias this one.
Exactly. I mean, that's the nice part about randomization, right?
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
don't put your own bias in it.
So you could, and then, I mean, it depends on how many cells you need. So if you realize, okay, so they are quite sparsely populated, so maybe you need 15. I mean, the time it takes to take it, and then there's no data, so you could easily take more. And then I would also, when I look at these some of these, they seem maybe they could. Okay, these are too bright, but they could probably benefit from actually a Z stack. I think that these are not perfectly in focus here.
Yeah.
So, but it's something that you can work with also.
Okay.
All right.
Can we just have a quick look into D2?
Yeah, sure.
Just I think that's...
But we changed.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So you can, to a certain degree, use the template as it is, but you probably have to adjust it a little bit.
So I can just double-click.
You can double-click
right?
there, yeah. And then it will move to roughly there. And then if you go live now, you can also then just have a quick look to see if you're in the right place, like in the right well.
Yeah,
if you can see the light, yeah. So now you just start by setting the focus.
Is this outer?
No, but you are there, but you're probably quite far away from focus, so you can use the coarse focus. Just move it a little bit. It always takes a bit of time before you get used to the focus, and you don't want to go too fast. This is a long working distance, so it is some
we don't have to meet.
millimeter or so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it seems that you have. So now to know if you're overexposed or not, you can just look at the. Click on there, so you can see that you're not cutting the end of it, but they are still very bright.
Yeah.
So you could, if you wanted to, decrease either intensity or exposure time. I think. So with that one, you can either drag it or you can also write. Just clicking there, you can also type in the exposure time you want. And this thing with this type of camera that we have here that has such a wide dynamic range is also very beneficial for doing these kind of experiments, because if you are expecting to measure a series of samples where you have in some very bright signals and in some fairly dim signals, if you have a camera with a pretty bad dynamic range, you might be able to capture the very bright ones, but the dark ones will be too dark. Or you can capture the dark ones by having longer exposure time and such, but then the bright ones will be overexposed. With a camera like this, you have a better possibility to actually capture both and have enough information both in the high end of the intensities as in the low end to be able to quantify everything and get more data. How's it going?
So I can just take a spiral scan now,
you
for
can.
example, right?
So now if you stop that one, I changed the overlay to
so
minus.
that's why it doesn't.
Yeah. So you can go into the stage settings, and you can set the overlay. It's on the top there, and you can put that again on 10%.
Sorry, are you going to take a break soon, or are you going to finish this session?
I think we can maybe take a break in about 10 minutes. Is that good?
Yeah, because I want to change the battery.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so dark.
So now what you can do, if you want to get rid, you can also click on the mother there to get rid of all the old ones, and if you do that there too, the one before.
Okay.
And here now, if you don't have anything, you won't see anything. If you click on that little arrow there, here you see the individual previews. So if you click, you can even take away that last 10 ones. So if you can even click on the little X there, then you remove those completely.
Okay.
And
Now
you
I'm
can
just
do
in my.
yeah.
Okay.
Now you can do a spiral scan there.
Yeah.
And this will go until you say, that's
Yeah.
all I need. And these kind of things, especially with your sample, you could easily do this with the 5x, and you would
Yeah.
cover the whole thing in this period. You would have probably done the whole well even.
Yeah. And now if I would see, I could just go here, for example.
Yeah. If you want to zoom in and get that one good, you can click on that little button and it just blows that up there perfectly.
And yeah.
So if you go live now, you can also see if you still have very bright signals there. So it might be so in Navigator, in this view, we don't have this over underexposure button yet. Maybe in the future, who knows. This is one of the interfaces, one of the part of the software where we typically see new features with every release since it was released, so maybe at some point.
So that I could, for example,
so here you can
it's
also,
already in 4.
yeah. So these are very bright. So you're on 4 there, you have a very short, you have 20 seconds, you can go down to 10. I would probably not go down below 10 normally, because once you start going to very short exposure time, you're also introducing other things that can decrease the quality. So I would try to stay between 10 and 20 at the low end, and then decrease the power of the LED. And when you start to below 5%, then maybe I would start using that that thing in the fluorescence axis actually.
Can I get a bright field?
Yeah. So when you want to add another channel, you go into the beam path, and there you can add another channel. You can select bright field. Yeah. Right now it's in black and white, which I think is the right thing to do. So now if you go live, you will see it also bright field. So you can adjust that if you feel like you need to adjust something. So right now this is then the full dynamic range. Also that one you can also increase the contrast by adjusting that if you like.
They're dead.
Huh? They're dead.
They are dead, yeah.
Yeah, these ones, they don't look too happy.
Yeah. Too much crystals in them. Okay, but if I now would want to take both together as an overlay, I would just go and start
So
or capture image.
right now you have this thing. So right now the start would capture all of these things that we did before.
Because I still have up here my...
all of that. Yeah, it will start all of that. So when you're done, you can also then remove this by just clicking on that. And now if you click start, I don't think actually anything will happen, because there's no task list. Well, it did do something. Okay, I would stop that. That was interesting. So now I would double click to get back, or double click there to get back there. And then instead you could either mark this position, or if you just want to capture it, you could also do capture image. And that one will take this image with the 2.
Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then if I'm in music merge, I can...
Now there's a lot of stuff in here. I think yours is this image 1 there at the bottom.
This one. Yeah. And then I could here start adjusting.
Yeah, there you can start working with it. Yeah,
work,
exactly. There you can work
around.
with it. You could also go back into the default interface to play around with the images in there also.
Okay, cool. And then this was the possibility with the...
Oh, cool. I haven't seen that button before.
Yeah, it's here.
Yeah.
Okay. That's nice.
So that would be the typical one, especially in the navigator interface, that you would have the overlay and so on.
Yeah.
So a lot of these viewing options and so on is stuff that is still being developed in Navigator, I think. So some of these buttons are new to me. And this is also why very often I'm still working in the default interface.
So I get that by closing?
Yeah, you can close that one. So here you have it.
Yeah.
So here I find it easier to move around and work with these, and also to actually open up more images and compare images between them, so between each other. You can do that also very easily. So here I find, especially with the fluorescence, that this is not really easy to see anything, so I don't use so much that one, but instead I just look at how this looks. And maybe if you want to understand this over and under where you are, you could click the top one. So now you can see if you drag this up so right now, then you will have the sort of the
full range.
The full range
Yeah.
in the image, more or less. So.
Okay.
And if you click it again, everything is black and white, and then you click it one more time, then you go back to the...
Yeah. Can I make like an intensity profile with a line,
Yeah.
for example? Which...
So then, let's see here, you go to quantify.
Oh,
In quantify, you have the options up there. You have, you should have line profile somewhere there.
yeah.
There.
So I would just...
And then you pick the line, and you draw a line.
Okay.
And then you would have your channel 1 and channel 2 in there. You can also, I mean, this might not be so interesting, you can also then untick the channel 2 if you just want to look at the channel 1.
What's a stack profile?
So that has to do, if you do a set stack, then you can get information about how it looks throughout the stack and so on. I think it also works for time stacks. Sort of.
Okay, nice. And I can just delete my...
So if you want to get rid of this one, you can select it, yeah, and then you can just push that little trash can there.
Okay.
So there you can draw several lines and so on, and you can compare.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, I think that this will work quite well. This filter cube with your sample, it seems.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting a DNA stain as well for far red or something.
Yeah.
To have more information basically in the picture besides just my fluorophore and the bright field.
Yep.
Yeah, but they've been too long on those cells.
Yeah.
That's why they're all dead. But yeah.
And I think that if you have another stain anywhere else, even if this is quite broad and it has the excitation over here and then the emission quite far away, because this is so bright.
Yeah, I mean because the LED is almost at like just 4 or 5%.
Yeah, so I think that as long as you're not exciting this fluorophore, I think that you will have no interference from anything.
Do you think it would make sense to look for a DNA stain with the other filter cube, for example?
I would probably use the same, but if you can get something in the red or far red, so somewhere like in the side 3, Alexa 555, or up towards even side 5 or something like that. I don't know what it might be that you would go for. I don't know which one. And I can imagine, I don't remember exactly the excitation spectra of this one, but I can imagine that you might even be able to use something in the green range where you would look for emission in the same.
So I know that 4.5 excites this to only 1%.
Okay,
So like basically I cannot use 4.5 very well.
No.
That's
So then as soon as you get away from there you would probably be fine. But yeah, I would probably, if there is something, I would probably go for something in the sort of the yellow red range.
Okay, cool.
Orange.
Nice. This looks good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, this one looks still okay.
Yeah, and the other wells, there were
Yeah.
some, those samples, the cells look more happy,
Yeah,
I would say.
that's true. Yeah, cool.
Something here also, maybe if you go back to, you can go to Acquire here, and we're on Brightfield. You can go live, the Brightfield. So here you can drag this down a little bit to get that. Only with Brightfield I tend to maybe change the exposure time or so. So here now you can adjust this one, the aperture diaphragm a little bit. So when you work with Brightfield, you can actually use that one. You go quite far, so you see if something happens, and then you have to then increase the exposure time a little bit to compensate. But if you close it down and then just brighten up the image a little bit. So with Brightfield images of live cells with no phase contrast or DIC, sometimes they can be difficult to see. So you might benefit sometimes from increasing the contrast with the Brightfield using the aperture diaphragm. That will then give you a bit more contrast. And then when you open it up back up, you have to compensate from that. But as I said, so for me, I think around 7 for the 40x was the rule of thumb, sort of the open for 7080, and then anything else is up for whatever you want. So perhaps you can, in this field, perhaps you can set up just make a little set stack of this if you want. See what that looks like. And I would probably set it up with the fluorescence channel with that one in mind. So I would just move the focus so that you feel like, okay, now I am on the outside, and then setting that and then moving to the other side. So that will give you 18 steps, so that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Alright, so system optimized.
Oh, big light.
Yeah, that's just.
So you can just start this experiment. So once you're here, it's only going to do the experiment here. So at this point, if you had set something up in Navigator, if you started there, that it doesn't. No, it doesn't feel that. So it will just do this. So now, when you have the set stack, you can actually go through it with this one. So now it's the captured image that you're looking at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just move through it like that. So in here, we can also then have a quick look at how we can do a maximum intensity projection of this. When you have something this small, just one field of view, you can click on that button there, maximum projection. So if you click on that one, it will take a bit of work because it's calculating, and now this one is gone because now they collapsed everything down to one area. So now it's taking all the intensities from all the stacks. It's looking at one pixel through the stack and taking wherever that was brightest. So this is then the result. Brightfield, sometimes it looks a bit weird, but if you look at the fluorescence, this is what would typically be. So you get, if you have stuff that is in different levels, this is a way to collapse them down to one.
And then it will create another image, right?
No, the maximum intensity, when you click on this one, this is just doing that on the viewer. So this is not saved at all. If you click that again, you're back to this.
Okay.
So this one is only doing it for the viewer. If you want to create this image, you go into exactly process. And you have, let me see, which is it? Projection. Up a little bit. There. Oh, you went past it. Click on that one. So we have to select an image. right now we have no image selected, so if you go to Open Projects and you find your image, we have a lot of random stuff now. Like there might be series 008. Normally it puts it at the end. So here we have the set stack, we're right on top. So now you have a projection, use the maximum, and you have some other one that normally you do maximum, and you can do apply. So now it will create a copy. You will see the copy coming up there. There you go. And it gives you then the name, and it adds something at the end of the file name. So now if you remove the channel 2 maybe, so this is now the projection image that you get.
Where's the line here?
This is a line to show before and after when you, some of the things that you do in process, you can see is sort of a preview of what it will look like.
So, but this is the same, or?
Yeah.
Is it both the processed? Right?
Yeah, in this case there is no, right now you're also looking at the processed one. So
okay.
And in some of these tools they don't really give you before and after either. So, but so this is the result.
The final one.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So this is one way to do it, and this is the one that you would typically use for fluorescence and these kind of things to sort of collapse everything down. And it's especially if you have something that has a bit more 3D structure, and you're looking at stuff that might be in different levels. Say you're looking at cells that are a bit thicker, and you're looking at dots. Some might be here and some might be there. Then this kind of things will get all of them into one image so that you can actually see it a little bit better. In this case here, what we are seeing, because you have something that is very, very bright here, so what you're actually getting is you're getting halos quite often here. And that's because it's again looking through the whole Z stack and taking the intensity of the pixels with the highest intensity. So here you have a lot of autofocus fluorescence around your sample. So in the perfect focus, you might have with the autofocus, you might have with these black pixels, they might get a little bit more of the autofocus job. So autofocus fluorescence. So that would be picked. So you can actually pick up a bit of this halo around also. So there is another way of to do a sort of this type of thing, and that's to do an extended depth of field or extended depth of focus. So that works sort of similar, but what it's doing is instead of taking looking at the maximum intensity in each set pixel, it's looking at each set level and it's looking for the highest contrast. So everything that is sharp in this, it will pick that. Going to the next, analyzing everything that is sharp in here, picking that, and doing that throughout the set stack, and then compiling one to the image of all the sharp things that you have in your whole field of view.
But does it deduct the off-focus halos?
So that one I think would be...
That's what I mentioned, this is the COSMA.
Okay.
The computative, I don't know, optical sectioning microscopy or what.
Okay.
And the point that when it recognizes that's the sharpest point, and on another sheet it's it's paler, and it's know that that came from the out focus point.
So you have some calculations that you can do. That's not exactly that.
So it makes it more contrastful, and it avoid to be to see this film.
Yeah.
As I know.
So with I don't know that technology exactly, but that sounds more like, so Leica came out with something with this nice thing here, Thunder Imager Systems. So the Thunder Imager system built on the same type of microscope, but it has a bit more functions when it comes to creating better images. So that one will actually analyze each frame and look for what is coming from out of focus, what is coming from in focus, and deciding between them. This extended depth of focus, that will better remove this halo, because the halo is diffuse. So on that level where you have a lot of this diffuse, it might not pick up anything at all. So that one would probably work a little bit better to get better contrast here. So that could be an option. That's a license that you don't have. We can test it. Actually, I wonder if the process. Let me have a quick look. There's a license needed for that, but we can test it to see how that would work on that on something like this. But it's not exactly what you're talking about, because that takes it a bit more, one more advanced step. This is, I think anyway, this is a fairly straightforward, basic way of doing it. I think that we can have a quick break, and then we'll continue after the break.
Yes. Good. So if I just, if I would wanted to check through the eyepiece or something,
Yep.
I would just change this one.
Yes, push that in.
And then I can control it via these things, basically.
Yeah, but depends on what you want to control. So what I would do, if you wanted to see the fluorescence now, to start the fluorescence, because right now the lamp, fluorescence lamp, is connected with the software. So if you go live, you would have this, you don't have to bother with, and now you would have your light coming through there.
Okay.
So I would say in general, for most things, if you have the software on, I would control all the settings from the software. If you want to look by eyepiece, I would still use the software to say, okay, I'm looking at bright field, I'm looking at fluorescence, and I want to look at this channel and so on. I would use this just with that lever in, so that the light goes to the eyepieces. You could also use just the tools on the microscope, and this little guy, we haven't gone through this, and I was planning on not talking so much about it. This one is the control for the QLED. If you want to use this completely manual, not start the software, you can do that too, and this one would then control the QLED, so you can pick which wavelength you want to have. But as soon as the software is on, then this one goes into a remote, and it's not in function. So this one is simply telling you that a manual operation is needed, because if you want to see live, you need to have the camera, the camera option, so that it goes to camera and not eyepieces. So if you pull that out now, this one automatically goes away, because now it senses that yes, it goes to the camera. It's all good. You can start imaging if you want.
Okay. What else? Yeah, we can change here to course as well, right?
Yes. So if we,
for example, want to change the wells,
you can go stop that one if you want to put light on there or something. So on these ones, you have, it's written here. So Z is the focus. This is a focus also right there. So you have Z coarse, Z fine, and the same thing with X and Y. You have X and Y fast and precise. So when you click on them, you can get it to be more precise or fast.
Okay.
So now if you wanted to go to the 5x objective,
I would have to go down here.
I would go down with that one. You just press and hold, and you go to the 5x. And then you press it up. Yeah, press and hold.
Okay, and now I can go live again.
Now if you go live, you can adjust, you can press that little automatic one there. There you have it, and here you can see the edge of the well holes.
Okay.
So this one is really full.
For example, if I would want to change my well now, I could go.
So with the 5x objective, so these fine and coarse, they are related also to the magnification. So with the 5x, I wouldn't expect a very big difference between fine and coarse, because you have you're at such a low magnification, so you can actually, if you just do slowly, it will be fine for the 5x. Whereas with the 63x or the 40x, fine needs to be really fine, because otherwise it goes too fast. So with the 4DX you will have a bigger difference between fast and precise compared to if you're on the
And can I put a scale bar on that image, or it's just
yeah.
within the process?
No, you can also add scale bars and measuring things here. And that's that guy. If you click on that one, and then you can draw it wherever you want it.
And it's written there, okay.
Yeah, it's written there.
Can I change the color?
With that one, I'm not 100% sure. If you take the selection there and right click on it, I think you could properties. It's up a little bit there. And then you have colors there. So that's something you can also use if you want to do simple measurements in your image. You can use the scale bar. You can also, as an option, when you export your files, we looked at this export TIFF or so on before. If you want to have a scale bar, that's an option in the export process also. Typically, you will not get that. You don't get that if you're exporting the raw file, because you don't want to have a scale bar in the raw file. But if you're exporting a scale viewer image that you're doing because you want to have it for a publication, presentation, or something like that, and you want it, then you have that option to include the scale bar in the export.
Why doesn't it change to W right now?
Again?
Why doesn't it change to W right now?
I don't know. If you click on that one there.
No. Stop here. Oh, am I still here somehow in the
No, I think that it's not really sure. It's still live, right? So just click that one again. Okay, there's something it's not happy.
Maybe because of the scale bar, or?
No, that should not be. Okay. Is it still live? Can you try to adjust the focus or something, or just move it a little bit? I just want to see if it's still
No, it's not moving.
No. Okay, so something has frozen the software. Let me have a look at it. We can have a break, and I will have a look and figure out what happened.
Alright.
We can meet back in about maybe 10 minutes.
Okay.